Hello and welcome back to the Talent Acquisition Matters podcast with me, Thomas Dove, founder of Fraser Dove International, the life science talent consultancy. I'm so excited for today's bonus episode, which is focusing on hiring talent within the life sciences space. I'm joined by Jason Cachia, who is a global headhunter within the quality and regulatory space within life sciences. How are you doing, Jason?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Tom.
Perfect. So Jason and I have worked together for the last 5 years, where he's been instrumental in supporting pharma, bio, devices, and CDMO businesses in Europe, Asia, and the US who've been transforming quality. I wanted to bring Jason onto the podcast today to give our listeners some insight into quite possibly the most challenging and dynamic recruiting market in the life sciences industries right now. So we're going to see who's doing things well, understand some more of the challenges and the problems, and see how we can fix those. So, Jason, can you introduce yourself to our listeners, please?
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Tom. Great to be a part of this. So as you mentioned, we've been working together for 5 years. So I've been with Fraser Dove for that long, but I've got about 9 years in total experience within search and selection. So the last 5 years being with Fraser Dove, managing the quality and regulatory team.
Perfect. And so, as you said, you specialize within the placement of quality and regulatory affairs talent in the life sciences industries. For those listeners that might not know, can you explain a little bit more about this part of the industry, please?
Yeah, of course. So it's very much two separate parts of the business. So the quality part of the business is the part of the business that puts relevant processes and procedures in place to ensure a high quality product across the drug life cycle. So whether that may be implementing a quality management system or checking incoming raw materials, these individuals know the legislations of the governing bodies and ensure that their organizations are being fully compliant in manufacturing, developing drugs. And then there's the regulatory affairs space. So these guys are slightly different in what they do. They work very closely with the public health bodies. And these individuals control the safety and efficiency of the products from development through to marketing. So they keep track of changing legislation, advice on legal and scientific restraints, development programs, present drug registration documents, but essentially they help organizations avoid problems caused by badly kept records, inappropriate scientific thinking, or poor presentation of data.
Okay. So, I mean, already complex and very challenging and important parts of any organization. So I'm eager to kind of find out a little bit more about the complexities of hiring in this space. How challenging is this market right now for companies to recruit the right people?
Yeah, so as you said, it's very, very challenging because within quality and regulatory, it's not just you're looking for a quality individual or a regulatory affairs individual. They specialize within what they do. So very similar to like what we do at Fraser Dove, there's niches within niches. So, you have your quality people that are more manufacturing focused and more clinically focused, and you very rarely find somebody that combines both. If you do, they are obviously been around for a while and done a good job. But it's a very sought after space. Quality, without quality and without regulatory affairs, the product cannot go to market. And that is the ultimate aim of every organization. So without robust regulatory and quality procedures within an organization, a product will not get past the governing bodies and it therefore will not go to market. And that obviously is going to cause issues.
And do the candidates now, it was never really the shining light of an organization. That was always, the science element or marketing or other elements or other functions always had slightly bigger voice, I would say, in the life sciences. So, do the candidates, have they changed? Do they now understand kind of their part in the world and the contribution that they're playing?
Yeah, most definitely. I think, the new generation of candidates and the ones that really drive quality forward have more of a partnering mentality rather than a policing mentality, which is an old school way of instilling quality within an organization. This is what needs to be done, and this is how it's going to be done. Now it's more of a cross-collaborative way of working, really understanding what the business's goals are, how they can be achieved, but compliantly. And they're speaking more often with their peers to really understand their processes and procedures and how quality can have an impact in that, to ensure quality and regulatory are doing the right things to get that product to market. So yeah, definitely a very, very vast change in landscape in the way that they're thinking and communicating.
And the complexity of the hiring within this space. You've got pharma and bio companies that are potentially, driving a digital transformation within quality. You've got CDMO companies, the contract development manufacturing organizations, that are now making so many more products for so many more industries within life sciences. And then you've got devices where maybe regulatory, understanding is changing.
Yeah.
So how is that affecting the complexity of the hiring? You've got companies that are growing, companies that are changing. How difficult is that becoming?
Yeah, hugely, hugely difficult, because if I pick on one of the points, and you have mentioned about digitalizing quality, that's a huge space at the moment, because that can really streamline everything from audits, which means that things can get through quicker, processes, procedures, all done digitally, only helps things happen quicker, more effectively, and is easier to record the data, of course. So, that's an ever-changing market, but that is new in the market. So it's all, candidates need to learn that. Have they been at an organization that's doing that? The COVID thing coming in at the moment, there's a huge ramp up in manufacturing as it stands at the moment. Are there enough manufacturing sites? I think manufacturing within quality is probably one of the biggest markets. There's more people that have a GMP quality experience rather than GCP, let's say. But in saying that, their need in the market has really ramped up significantly, because these drugs need to be manufactured, and they need to be manufactured effectively, and not only that, the quality needs to be not just scraping past, it needs to be of the highest standard. So it makes the hiring difficult, but the quality individuals and candidates are changing their mentality, their skill set, and what they're doing. So there's more people that do various different things in the quality and regulatory atmosphere.
Yeah.
But people that do specific elements is quite a small talent pool.
Yeah.
Therefore causing a bit of an issue in the talent ecosystem.
Yeah. Things like, QPs, qualified person in Europe, is very, very, very challenging. You see, customers looking to recruit those and have the positions open for 12, 18, 24 months before they get to go to a supplier. So I'm interested, though, with all of these complexities, obviously there's a lot of movement. It's a very dynamic and fluid candidate market right now. So there must be companies out there that are getting their hiring strategy right. Can you share any insight into how these companies are doing that?
Yeah, so one very important piece is how they're being presented on the market, the story that they're given, the ambitions of the organization. That's very clear, very concise. It's not only happening at an interview stage, it's also out there in the atmosphere, whether it be LinkedIn or through their marketing material. People know what that organization is doing and looking to do. So that's very, very important. And obviously reinforcing that during interview is also key. Secondly, I would say flexibility. Massively, massively key. So if you mentioned QPs a minute ago, now the QP market has moved over very much to being a consulting marketplace. To get a permanent QP is very difficult, because if they just want to stay as a qualified person, they're better off going consulting. They will earn more money effectively. Because if someone is looking to do that, that's going to be their drive. They're not looking to be promoted to a senior manager, etc. But then that causes the other problem in that side of the market, where people want to progress and don't want to be just a QP. They want to be a QA manager and QP. They want to be a head of quality and QP. So there's those complexities within that space. But having that flexibility in terms of working from home where possible, having the flexibility in the package that's on offer is hugely important as well. What can you offer somebody to really attract them? And it doesn't just have to be salary, but you need to be talking about the total package. And the ones that are getting it right are listening to the marketplace and changing what they're doing.
Yeah. And I think that's quite interesting. The package aspect, having the variables around the short-term incentive, long-term incentive, all of those kind of good things, put in with the flexibility, be it location or maybe looking at a candidate being able to take on more of a well-rounded role.
Yeah.
But one of the really interesting things for me is that storytelling. It's not only the purpose of the business, it's the mission and the vision of the team.
Yes.
One thing that sticks out for me is how long are the hiring stakeholders taking explaining the story, to those that are going to tell it to the candidate market. If you're not taking enough time to explain what's going on, then the candidates aren't really going to understand what you're looking for, what type of ambitions you've got for the team. So it's all about taking that time in that discovery element of the search.
100%. And I think for us, that's where we end up being most successful in finding the right candidates, is because we can take that to the market, because there's so many people in the marketplace and actively looking. I would say, the passive market is very slim. And that's where you want to be attracting talent, because they're not interviewing, they're not in other processes, whereas all the other active talent is. And obviously that messaging is important, but then also you can take that to people that are passive. So really understanding that and enabling your talent acquisition partner, whether it be external or internal, to go and deliver that message is highly, highly important.
I saw just this week that LinkedIn said that the passive market takes 70% of the candidate pool, and the active is only 30%. So if you're only relying on, that 30% applying for your roles, then you're missing out on a massive part of the market. So in fact, that kind of leads me on to companies or organizations out there that maybe aren't doing things so right. Yeah. What, you've spoken about storytelling, flexibility, package. What else do you think that they could improve in order to, entice the best talent?
Yeah. So they need to be, I've mentioned flexibility, but I'm going to mention it from a different point of view. They need to be flexible in the person that they're looking for. So there's too many organizations looking for the perfect candidate, someone that's 110% of what they want. Now, the more companies that are doing this, the less successful they're being. They're interviewing 5, 10, 15 people, and they're not being successful because they're not 100% candidate. Now, where people are being successful and organizations are being really good at doing this is identifying who's an 80% candidate that we've interviewed. Do they fit in culturally? Are they on board with the messaging? Are they engaged with the brand? Can they do the majority of the role? Yes, great, but they're missing something, whether it be from a managerial perspective or it might be from a technical perspective, but can that be taught? How quickly can that be taught? How engaged is that person to be able to learn that? And that's something that's key. And that's what a lot of people are missing out on. And that's why people aren't being so successful in the marketplace. It's a real huge element that we're seeing, especially within the quality and regulatory team at the moment.
And if there is that gap of 20%, and you're quite open and honest with that in the process with a candidate, and you actually get to the point where you say, look, we're going to invest in your development from day one to fill that gap. But we think that you incorporate the values of the business, that you're ideal for the team. That could also be quite a reassuring and, strong message to that candidate that we are going to invest in you from day one.
Definitely. And most of the time, the candidate agrees.
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I am lacking that. You are right. But the fact that you want to invest in me, again, that's another notch on the belt for that organization gaining that talent.
Yeah, perfect. And in particular, in the hiring space, what trends are you seeing in the quality hiring space in particular right now?
Yeah, so there's quite a lot at the moment going on. I mean, there's loads and loads of roles. So, one thing that we're seeing is biologics and biotechs are really taking from the pharma talent pool and being more open to doing that now. Not only looking from people from biotech organizations, but then there's more advanced therapies, cell and gene therapies are taken from biotechs, not just cell and gene therapy talent experience. And then there's been a massive uplift in CDMO talent attraction at the moment. Obviously, the ones that are really fighting the COVID war at the moment and are manufacturing that vaccine have got a great message because of what they're doing in terms of helping the world at the moment. So there's been a massive uplift in that. So, for me, there's a bit of a space in the pharma side of the business, mainly at the moment, in attracting talent because, if it is an organization that's maybe not working on the most exciting product, but obviously vital products in the world, but then there's a chance to work on a cancer fighting cell and gene therapy, there's that natural excitement. So that's what I'm seeing in the marketplace at the moment is the transition and the openness to looking at a slightly different skill set, but then it's leaving a massive hole in the pharma space.
Yeah, if the pharma talent is going to the bio and the CDMO industry, where are they going to get their talent from?
Yeah.
And then I think it comes back actually to your storytelling. The pharma industry may need to work on that in order to entice the best talent.
Yeah, most definitely. And we have a great example of that recently where we were working with an individual who was working in a vaccines company, but he moved over to the consumer health organization because of the mission, because of what he could go in and achieve and provide a culture turnaround. He was very interested in the project, the organization, and that story about what he was going in to go and achieve. He took that step and that leap of faith. He's been there for about a year now and really enjoying his role.
Yeah, fantastic. I love the turnaround aspects of some of the senior quality leadership roles out there at the moment. And in fact, you actually wrote a really interesting article about the challenges quality have in making the right impact internally. There's a constant drive for hiring stakeholders within your world that are always asking to, drive quality up the agenda. Mm-hmm. How do you think quality leaders can achieve this?
So for the younger listeners who are looking to grow within the organization, try and get some experience within the operational side of the business. Yep. Because that's very key at the moment. So what I'm seeing in a lot of VP level quality positions is the desire to have somebody that has a bit of a mix of background. So who's been in quality and been in operations. And I tell you why. It's to get that understanding. So you understand all of the business. You understand production. You understand a little bit about engineering. You understand a little bit about operations, but ultimately quality. So then you are able to inject quality into those leaders, and when you're speaking to them, you can almost speak their language. So, it's highly important for quality leaders at the moment to really take the time to understand the other parts of the business and then comprise a quality strategy.
And you spoke earlier about quality has gone through a bit of a transformation from policing to partnering. Mm-hmm. And there is probably no better way to partner with somebody than to have empathy from being in their shoes previously. So you're absolutely right. Having experience working in other departments within operations will only give you a better platform to understand those stakeholders when you take quality up the agenda.
Definitely.
And what's the biggest challenge that quality and you can split this into this answer, but what's the biggest challenge that quality in the regulatory functions are facing at the moment?
Okay, so from a regulatory standpoint, the biggest challenge in the market is the war for regulatory individuals, because they are so vital. And with so many new startup organizations that need regulatory people to ensure that all their data is correct to present to public bodies, there's not enough people in the marketplace for the role. And then what's also important within the regulatory space at the moment is working from home. There are mass opportunities for these individuals to be working remotely at the moment. Why would they want to give that up? They're able to travel, they're able to fly to locations when needed, but the people that are getting these talent are the ones that letting them work remotely. And that's a really important aspect in that space at the moment. And then for the quality individuals, there's been a massive shift in salary levelings recently, salary and package leveling. So, it's great, all these brand new cell and gene therapy organizations coming in, but they're offering director level candidates VP opportunities on almost a VP salary and are completely blowing up the marketplace in terms of affordability. So then this individual may look to move again, but then, they're on $280,000 as a base salary, where realistically they should probably be more on the 220, 250 mark. And it's how do you bring that person back down? And that's a massive challenge in the quality space at the moment. Is attracting that talent out of those, younger organizations who have great financial backing because of the funding rounds they're doing at the moment. But obviously that comes with high risk. So it's understandable why they do it, but it is really ramping up what needs to be there in terms of salary levelings.
Yeah, wow. And it's interesting that they're almost paying for talent, paying above the odds to get them sooner.
Yeah.
Will they be the expert that they need in that role? Only time will tell. But it'll be interesting to see how that lands in the next 12, 18, 24 months as those companies go through a bigger, scale up of their operations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on that kind of future thinking, 12, 18, 24 months time, what does the future hold for the QRA talent market? What do companies need to do in order to win the war for talent, other than just paying over the odds? What other things do you think they need to be considering?
Yeah. So, a work from home schedule that is mutually beneficial. And now I fully understand that in a manufacturing site, that can be difficult. But at a more senior level, it can be done, even if it's 1 or 2 days from home. Have that flexibility on a work from home schedule where possible. People's lives are changing. They've seen in COVID that they want more of a work-life balance. And being able to work from home does that. They don't have to commute. They're able to spend a little bit more time with their kids, or pets, or whatever it may be. So it makes them work more effectively. But what I am going to see is, in 24 months' time, a lot of these cell and gene therapy organizations are going to be filing and being unsuccessful in filing. So, there is going to be a point where all those higher paid individuals are going to come onto the market at the same time, and they're going to need a home. So there will be, I think, salaries will come back down in 24 months' time.
Okay,
most definitely, and people will look for more stability as well. COVID has brought massive instability. Where's that stability going to come from? And I think some of the larger organizations are going to win as long as they can get their messaging right in that space.
Yeah, and that stability piece is quite interesting. So if you are one of the companies that does file and does get a good product out there, or, is a larger workforce with more stability in the organization, what do you think they should do to keep their people within QRA?
Yeah, so they need to be given them the understanding of what their future prospects are. So it's great in putting that message out to the external market, but is it going to your internal talent? Are you having a conversation with your internal talent, talking about the plans for the future, what that holds not only for them, but for the organization, so they can see what prospects that they have as well. And regular updates and meetings and, conversations with that team and praising them when they're doing well, making sure they're getting the right uplifts, looking into the market and not just resting on your laurels almost, and making sure that you understand what is the marketplace doing at the moment. Are we providing enough? Are we doing enough? Making those individuals and within quality and regulatory feel like they have a home.
Yep.
Will make it extremely more difficult for them to leave, because they have that stability, they feel supported, they feel empowered. So why would they want to go and take the risk? I mean, let's remember, quality and regulatory people by trait are risk adverse. It's part of their job. So if you're increasing their risk levels by moving organizations because of everything that I've mentioned, then you're going to have a good chance of retaining that talent.
Yeah, it's very interesting, that kind of career development piece. As we spoke about earlier, maybe it's diversifying your skill area or function or site or whatever it might be, to get a broader understanding of operations. But also it's just really key. You spoke about empowering people. It's also the contribution. People care about the contribution that they're making to the business. And those regular updates that you talk about are super important, especially in the CDMO market right now. It moves so fast and customers are always needing to be pleased, but so are staff, so are the people, so are the talent that you have in the business. They're the ones that you really need to concentrate on sometimes as well. People first organizations within that space will always go a lot further. So
definitely.
So obviously there's a lot of interesting and cool stuff going on in the market. There's loads of moves. Candidates are being approached and ever such a lot by search firms, by companies direct. What hiring tips could you give to any potential candidates out there at the moment that are looking for their next challenge in the QRA world?
Yeah, so one thing I'm always an advocate for, and not only because I'm in this space, but it's speaking to a recruitment professional about the space, gaining their knowledge and understanding on the market space at the moment, but also letting them know what you're looking for. Because for as many opportunities there are on the market that you can see via LinkedIn or other job platforms, the recruitment professional can actually give you advice on organizations that really fit what you're looking for and understand organizations culturally as well, so to make sure that you're making the right move. There's definitely doing that. There's multiple advantages. We're speaking with hiring managers quite frequently. We're directly in contact with TA. We're not the applicant tracking system that can automatically reject you. We're understanding what you're doing and what you're saying on the market. But also, ensuring that you have the right attributes. Make sure you have good examples of, your cross collaboration.
Yep, your experiences.
Experiences, your culture change. Really think about your leadership style and what that means, because all of that is going to be vastly important to interview. But by understanding yourself, you can then go and do research on organizations that you think you can fit into, because not everyone is going to be the same. But, really putting those experiences out there and letting people know where you come from will help massively. But I think the number one thing to do is definitely speak to a recruitment professional in your market space that does what recruits for what you do, and just get as much advice as possible into what the market is doing, saying, and how they can help you.
Yeah, perfect. And also, what tips could you share with any hiring stakeholders out there that are looking to improve their hiring processes or candidate experience?
Definitely. So number one thing to do is define the interview process. Make sure you know what that looks like and who is involved. Bring it down to, I would say, a maximum of 3 stages. So whether that be a HR interview, hiring manager interview, and then a panel, keep it at 3 stages maximum. Be transparent in feedback and get it over to the candidate as quickly as possible, whether it's direct to the candidate or through their recruitment agency. Keep that flow of feedback going. And thirdly, you're not only interviewing the candidate and making the candidate sell to you, you need to sell to the candidate. So you need to be reinforcing that message of the organization, why this role, and all of that is very, very important. So it's not a one-way street anymore. It's a 2-way sale. The candidate is selling themselves to you. You need to sell them yourself to the candidate. And if you're doing all of that and have the real understanding of how the process is going to run, timely and effective feedback, and really promoting the organization during those interviews, then I think there'll be high success and very good customer satisfaction from a candidate point of view.
Yeah, and that's super interesting. I think the power now of candidate experience is it's the defining factor now for most individuals in that process, negative or positive. If you get the job or not, it's actually defining the candidate experience at the outset, which is going to be a differentiator for you, because bad news travels very fast. The quality and regulatory, candidate pool, they're quite open. They talk to each other across different organizations. And all of a sudden you can find that a company, rightly or wrongly, has a bad reputation in the candidate market purely because maybe they don't give feedback, they don't give, it's a 10-round interview process, something like that can be really off-putting. And I think it's just quite interesting that you said that, defining the interview process sounds like something which is standard practice, but people get lost in that process now. Maximum of 3 stages is super interesting too. It's getting that story out there, being an advocate of your company throughout the interview processes, and being able to sell your organization, is going to be a defining factor. And then, as you said, feedback. It's an absolute given. We've all been candidates in processes before. If you're not getting feedback, something is definitely wrong. We've all had that kind of empathy of good, bad in different processes, but at least give candidates the feedback that they need for dedicating their time.
Yeah. And what I would add to that as well is giving the candidate a good experience and a good feeling about your organization. If they haven't got the role because maybe they've lacked something from a technical standpoint or a leadership standpoint, wherever it may be, they still will be passionate about your organization and will get that experience in maybe 2 or 3 years' time.
Absolutely.
So then that candidate's going to want to come back, and when they see a role open and potentially interview for the same role or a different role within the company because they like the organization. If you're not giving feedback and you're not passing that on, 1, the candidate can't improve themselves, and 2, you've probably stopped that candidate reapplying for a role in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, whatever it may be, when they will be an excellent candidate for the organization.
Exactly. If you only concentrate on filling a vacancy today, you will miss out on the candidates of the future. That's the dynamic here. And we speak to plenty of people that say, oh, yes, I interviewed there 10 years ago, and that was a really aspirational brand. I still would really love to work there. And then all of a sudden they have another opportunity with 10 years more experience or 10 months, whatever it might be. And they still are very interested. But on the flip side, there's also those that say, absolutely no way am I going to go back into a process with that company. So I think that a lot of this has been invaluable expertise that you've shared here, Jason. Now, I'm very thankful for your time. I think it's been great. I hope that the listeners have been able to take quite a lot of information from this as well. So look, for any of our listeners out there that are looking to get in touch with you and understand more about what you do or how you do it, how can they connect? Where can they find you?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out that way. But you can reach me directly via email. So the email is jcachia@fraserdove.com, and the surname is spelled Cachia, because I know that's a sticking point for most people. But those are probably the two best platforms to catch me on.
Perfect. Yes, as I said, though, I think some of this has been absolutely invaluable, both for the candidates, the clients that are hiring, just a really good understanding of the industry itself. This is a challenging market right now, but there is some talent out there. So thank you again for spending the time with us today. I really appreciate it and look forward to this one going live.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tom. It's been a pleasure. And I think, you don't always get all of this messaging out. Speaking to candidates daily, you do it in parts. So it's nice to have, an opportunity to bring it all together on something like this. So thanks for having me.
Perfect. Thank you.